morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Washington County Board of Supervisors Special Board Meeting on May 29th, 2020. This meeting is now called to order. Supervisor Claire, would you lead us in prayer, please? Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Washington County Board of Supervisors Special Board Meeting on May 29th, 2020.
There you go. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Sam, are you up? Do you want me to say the prayer now?
Yes, would you please, Sue?
Yes. Yep. Dear Father, please guide us during these difficult times. Help us to listen, help us to feel, observe with kindness, give us empathy so we can act morally and ethically. Remember the 44-year-old young male who this weekend was healthy, and by Wednesday, he is now on a ventilator in Albany, New York. Remember George Floyd's family and the difficulties that two cities in Minnesota are having. Here we live in Washington County. It's a beautiful place to be. We have a responsibility to our people. So please guide us today. Amen.
Supervisor O'Brien, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
In case of a fire and other emergency, you all in the chambers, please go to the nearest exit, find the nearest stairway, exit the building and clear the building so that fire and rescue squads can do their, and emergency squads can do their job. Also, please silence your cell phones for this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Deb, would you do the roll call, please?
Mr. Hankey.
Here.
Mrs. Stadler.
She's in here. She's muted.
Okay. Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Lotoff.
Here.
Mr. Hicks.
Here.
Mr. Ward.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Half.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Skelly.
Here.
Mr. Hogan.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mrs. Clary.
Here.
Mr. Griffith.
Here.
Mr. Rozell.
Here.
Okay, now the clerk will read the notice of the special meeting, please.
By letter dated May 22nd, you are hereby directed to call a special meeting of the Board of Supervisors for Friday, May 29th, 2020 via teleconference at 10 a.m. for the following purpose. 1, appoint budget officer. 2, such other business as may properly come before it. Sincerely, Samuel J. Hall, Chairman, Washington County Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Deb. We now have the supervisor's privilege of the floor, and the town of Kingsbury has recognized Mr. Tim Havens. If we can get Tim on the line there, please.
Good morning, supervisors. Can you
Morning,
hear me?
Tim.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, we had some internet trouble here up on Dix Avenue this morning. So I am speaking to you live from Calamity Jane's right now. So thank you for the
All right.
opportunity. Thank you, Supervisor Hogan, and thank you, board members. Washington County is a beautiful place to live, and I intend to spend the rest of my days here. So I'm asking you to please consider very carefully what it is you're about to do. Supervisor Shaw was duly elected at the January organizational meeting for a 2-year term as our Washington County budget officer. His first budget as budget officer had the highest yes vote in a decade. His second one was fixed by a group of supervisors that raised spending by $1.5 million last fall and took an additional $600,000 from our fund balance, which, as I have been studying the chart, is diminishing in a very scary way. Removal of any duly elected person during their term sets a very bad precedent. And if you remove the budget officer in this way, you've opened yourselves up to other initiatives to do the same thing for other people within the board, such as chairman, vice chairman, et cetera. As Washington County suffers from a population decline, we have less residents, the same miles of roads, and yet our payroll continues to eke up, and our employee count growth has gone up about 4.5% a year since 2014. It's not sustainable. During the time that Supervisor Campbell was budget officer, I watched our fund balance go down, and I watched Supervisor Campbell not be willing to make the tough decisions that had to be made to rein in spending, to cut employees at the county level, and to help make it affordable for those of us to hang on and live here. It's coming to a point that the last one out of Washington County is going to have to turn out the lights. There's for sale signs everywhere. It is unsustainable. I'm asking you, please, to consider what I've said and to continue to allow Supervisor Shaw to do his job as budget officer. There's been some pokes at his mental acuity recently, or if he was mentally focused on the budget. I spoke at length with Supervisor Shaw and found that the budget process normally starts this time of the year. Due to COVID-19 concerns, there hasn't been a lot of activity in the county building, but that he is tuned in and ready to do it. And I know, as a businessman and as one of the highest taxpayers in my town, that I trust Dan Shaw as our budget officer very, very much. And I ask you to do the same thing. I think politics is playing into this a little too much, and who eats lunch with who and who golfs with who and who's friends with who plays into it a little too hard. There's 50-some thousand residents in Washington County that are counting on you all to do the right thing. Please put the politics aside. Let Supervisor Shaw continue to do his job. Give him your vote of confidence. Let him do the work. If he does something that's inept, you'll be able to stop him with the budget process with a vote. The fact is, the man is a fiscal conservative. He's proving that he can do the job. I don't know what has predicated your attempted witch hunt at him, but I'm going to ask you to please set aside personal differences, and in God's name, please do what's right for the people of Washington County during this meeting and every day that you serve the people that elected you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay. All right, now we'll move on to the introduction of the resolution.
Resolution number 156 by Supervisor Hall, titled to appoint budget officer.
Okay. Need a motion, and I will move that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hicks, Mr. O'Brien, Ms. Fiddler, Mr. Ward, Ms. Clary, Mr. Griffith, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Half, I'm sorry. Any others? Mr. Hicks, I got Mr. Hicks.
Yeah, I'd like to move the question. I make a motion to move the question.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to move the question. Do we have a second? Mr. Ward, Ms. Fedler. Okay.
No discussion on the motion.
There's no discussion on that motion. Before we vote, though, I did have a concern yesterday. Someone indicated they may go into executive session. Is that still wished? Do we want to pursue that, or?
Mr. Chairman, Darrell Wilson. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to move this to executive session involving personnel matters and discussion amongst the Board of Supervisors only. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Second was
Mr. Hogan.
Mr. Hogan. Thank you. Mr. O'Brien, you seconded as well? can't hear you.
You're muted, Mr. O'Brien.
You're muted, Mr. O'Brien.
Sorry. We have a motion and a second on the floor to call the question. I don't think you can take a motion after that.
Nor do you want to have.
No, you have to call the,
I'll ask
You have to-
Roger,
yeah.
I mean, this is a point of order.
Very
right,
disappointing.
you have to vote on the calling the question first. If that's over, then debate is over. However, I think you can still have a motion for an executive session after calling the question before voting.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second for an executive session.
No, we're on it.
No.
We're back to calling the question.
Back to calling the question, okay. We're back to calling the question. We had the motion, we had a second. There's no discussion. We will start a roll call vote, please, for the call the question vote.
Mr. Hanky,
Yes, I hope you can hear me. I can't keep the video going here.
We can hear you.
Mrs. Sedler,
She's shaking her head yes here, but she's muted.
Mr. Ferguson,
He's muted, Paul. You're muted as well, Paul. But I believe your lips said no.
No.
No, thank you.
Mr. Shaw,
No.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Losaw,
Yes.
Mr. Hicks,
Yes.
Mr. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Haff,
No.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
No.
Mr. Wilson,
No.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Griffith,
Yes.
Mr. Rozell.
No.
The motion is adopted, 2,755 yes, 1,505 no.
So that would foreclose public debate on the resolution. However, there may be matters the board wishes to discuss in executive session. This could qualify under matters leading to the appointment of a particular person or individual. So it is a qualifying matter for executive session. Executive sessions are not mandatory. They are at the discretion of the board whether or not to hold one. So if you'd like to renew your motion for an executive session, we would then get a second vote on that. If there are enough votes, the board would go into executive session. If not, we would proceed right to considering the resolution. However, when we came out of executive session, there would be no further debate. We would proceed right to the consideration of the resolution.
So, Mr. Wilson, you're on mute, Mr. Wilson.
Motion to continue with executive session.
We have the motion. Do we have a second?
Second by Mr. Hogan.
Mr. Hogan seconds. Any discussion?
The purpose being for matters leading to the appointment of a particular person or individual.
Then we will go right to the vote. So,
Has a
oh,
question.
Mr. Haff has a question. Sorry, Supervisor.
The way I read the resolution, Brian Campbell is to be nominated budget officer. So this executive session would be to discuss Brian Campbell only. That's the way I read it.
Well, matters leading to, Mr. Haff, there could be many matters leading to that ultimate conclusion.
Well, I know that the purpose of the executive session is to discuss Mr. Shaw, but Mr. Shaw's name is not on the resolution. It would be to discuss Mr. Campbell. I don't know how Mr. Campbell feels about that.
I don't mind if we discuss everything in open session. I have no problem either way.
Okay. Does that clarify, Dana? Supervisor Haff?
Not really, but I'll go on.
Thank you. All right, so we
We
have,
need to vote on the
we
executive
need to vote on the executive session if we could, Deb.
Mr. Hanky,
No.
Mrs. Sedler? No. Mrs. Sedler votes no. Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Abstain.
Mr. Hall?
No?
Mr. Lostoff?
No.
Mr. Hicks?
No.
Mr. Ward?
No.
Mr. O'Brien?
No.
Mr. Hack?
No.
Mr. Campbell?
No.
Mr. Skelly?
No.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary?
No.
Mr. Griffith?
No.
Mr. Rozell?
Yes.
The motion is defeated. 1,167 yes, 2,921 no, 172 abstain.
Thank you. Now we're on to the consideration of the resolution. We had a motion, we had a second. Now we're on to discussion.
We called the question.
We called the question, so there is no discussion. We'll move on from there. So, Deb, will we please do the vote?
Mr. Hanky?
Yes.
Mrs. Sedler? Mrs. Sedler votes yes. Mr. Ferguson?
No.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Hall?
Yes?
Mr. Lostoff?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Skelly?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
No.
Mr. Wilson?
No.
Mrs. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Rozell?
No.
The resolution is adopted, 2,921 yes, 1,339 no.
Thank you, Deb. Now we move on to the supervisor's comments. Does any supervisor have any comments? Going once? Going twice? Going three times? Hearing none, we stand adjourned.